Ezra, we cock. Dick Ballin. What's up, Ghost of a Dinosaur? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Hope everyone is having a good... Fuck, what day is it? Tuesday. It is Tuesday, because Tuesday is when I'm doing these chatting and non-gaming streams now for a while until I abandon my schedule. I am on many levels exhausted today, hence the blanket. I felt like it was a blanket kind of day. I wanted to be comfy. We blanky mode. Wompter tasty. Today was a fucking day. So before I start in the actual topic of the stream, I'll give people a bit to realize I'm live and come in here. Fucking time to complain about human job in vague terms, a thing I haven't had to do in a while. Although really it's not complain. Look at this comfy at burb. Yo, what's up, sheepy? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. I don't know, I've been having a time lately. I get like the shoulders poking out. You can see like it's like fucking Puritan America. You see one shoulder and you go crazy. There you go. You can get a little bit of the smexy vibes my model usually has. Nah, fucking, it's not really complaining as much as it's just like I wish things would stop happening. Things are just constantly happening. Fucking yesterday I went in to find out that one of my apps that I worked on threw an error upwards of like 500 times over the weekend. So, you know, we're starting the week strong. Also, we're starting the stream strong with the big burps. I just drank a lot of water. Thirsty. Dehydrate. It's fucking hot. It's fucking hot out. That's another thing to complain about. Who fucking turned up the heat? It's summer. Turn the air conditioning on, dog. Turn the outdoor AC on. You know, people get all like conspiratorial, like, oh, Bill Gates and the elites, they want to fucking block the earth. They want to block the sun with a dome to prevent global warming. Fucking bring it, actually. That sounds sick. Could you imagine going outside and it's like always sweater weather? Why would you not want that? How is that even like a conspiracy? Like go for it. I say, I would love Globodome. Fucking goddamn. Anyway, thirsty burping burb. Back to the point. So fucking way to start out the week. Immediately have a fire to put out. Luckily, it was a pretty easy one. And that's not the big thing. The big thing is that I have very quickly gone from vibing to, hey, 3 of the customers you're working on things for are high priority, big boy danger zone. Be careful. And it's not my fault. Like I gotta say, I am not involved in the things that are causing them to be the way that they are. But suddenly being thrust into a position where I am very important for the continued success of the company I work for, not ideal. Not ideal, because it sets in my mind that fucking, hey, if you screw this up, it's gonna be bad for your career and job and continued employment and being able to afford bills and rent. Even if that's not true, you know, it fucking feels like it, you know? Like, I don't know. Maybe well, it's not maybe, it is my mental illness, where I tend to be way too hard on myself and impose way too ridiculous fucking, expectations for myself, and then when I fail to meet them by even the tiniest margin, I'm like, oh, y'all know how it be, probably. Y'all watch VTubers. Like I said, anyone who watches Ezra Andromeda probably has at least one mental Illinois. So, we out here. But, fucking, that's my complaining done. I've stalled long enough, so now I have to actually figure out what this stream is about, because I only had a loose idea in my head. Yeah, I wanted to continue the idea I had last week of like I think I called it a live video essay. What's up, Keo? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. I think I called it a live video essay, which is kind of what it is, kind of not, because an essay kind of implies that there's like a thesis statement and like I'm going to be working towards substantiating some sort of claim or something like that. But no, it's just me talking about topics that I think I have interesting thoughts on. So this one kind of started from a realization I had a few months ago, and I actually had it on my list of like, hey, if I ever get the motivation to do proper video essays that I write and script and voice and edit and upload, this will be one that I do. But as we know, that doesn't work when you're a streamer that streams a lot and also has a full-time job. But fucking, I think if I did do them, they would be bangers. Sheepy, thank you for agreeing. You absolutely should do proper essays. I would be so down if it wasn't a time and mental energy commitment. It's on the docket. It's going to happen eventually, TM. In fact, this topic and the one from last week, the Nier Automata one, would both be essays I would do. Even having already done these streams, I would absolutely like write my thoughts out and get them more coherent than they're going to be today, because I am a being currently that subsists entirely on caffeine and a little bit of water sprinkled in there, and a lot of air conditioning, because fuck me, it was cold last week, it was perfect weather last week, and now I live in the pits of hell, and I'm really angry about it because it's a constant thing. I talk about it all the time. My fucking nest, right? It has two modes. It has the deepest pits of hell and the Arctic tundra. So even when I'm home and no longer have to go outside, I still have to deal with it. So right now I'm still sweating my ass off and I hate it. So fucking, so the point is that I'm not particularly coherent today. But that's almost better, because I feel like when I'm not coherent, I talk a lot more, and when I talk a lot more, that produces a lot more content, and by producing a lot more content, I also get Sheepy a lot more work to get paid for. Also, I don't think I've mentioned it live in a while, but I'm sure I have once or twice, but Sheepy is the editor, TM, that does most of my shit. Shoutouts to her, very pog individual. And yeah, by doing these, I get her more work. So the more I talk, the more money she makes. So her livelihood hinges on how unhinged I am. Hee hee hoo hoo. Fucking, yeah, anyway, back to the point. This was on my list of video essays to make. And basically the premise was, and it started, and the reason the thumbnail is what it is, because it started with Final Fantasy 16. You may remember, if you're deep into the burb rabbit hole, that a while back when that game came out, I played that game. And one of the interesting things about me playing that game is that the release of it kind of snuck up on me. I knew it was coming at some point, but it wasn't until like a week before when someone was like, hey, Final Fantasy 16's coming out, that's a new game. If you want to play it and you have a PS5 and the means to stream it, you should. And I did. I had all of those things. So I did, and I knew nothing going into it aside from it would probably be better than Final Fantasy 15, because that's a really low bar to pass. And if you like Final Fantasy 15, no you don't. I have decided that you do not like Final Fantasy 15 anymore. Get good. But anyway, I knew it was going to be better than that, and I also thought it was probably going to be like kinda generic, which it did end up being, but we'll get to that. But the key thing being here that usually when I buy a game, when I'm considering like getting a new game, be that like a newly released game or just a game I want to play, I will usually look at reviews. A combination of like, you know, Steam reviews, your typical outlets, your fucking like IGNs, your Polygons, etc. Video essays, early like should you buy sorts of things. But I didn't with this game. For a number of reasons, mostly because I didn't care. I knew that I would probably like it a decent amount. And again, as long as it was better than Final Fantasy 15, I was happy. So I played through the game, and you may remember I actually had a decent amount of fun with it. I did kind of think that it was mid. Every time I look to the left, for some reason, my eyes do that like thing. I don't know why. Well, now it's not doing it because I pointed it out. But like, I'm not doing the thing that usually triggers this. I'm just looking over at chat and it's like causing that to happen. I wonder if that happens like every time I look at chat during streams, and I've just never noticed. But now that I'm chatting, I'm looking directly at my model as if I'm looking into a mirror, and now I'm seeing it happen. But yeah, fucking, where was I? Oh yeah, I played through it and I enjoyed it. It was a good game. I had some complaints with it, primarily to do with like progression. The gear system kind of sucked ass. It was like, hey, here's new gear you can craft, and it will always be better than the previous gear. And Therefore, you're limited pretty strictly to how your build's gonna go, because the build is have the highest numbers possible. What game? Final Fantasy 16. Also, what's up, Dr. Hero? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. So the thing is, like, first of all, that was a thing. Second, I mean, it did kind of offset that a little bit, because like they had all the different icons by the end of the game. Some amount, I don't remember. They had the 2 fire ones. They had Phoenix and Ifrit, Shiva, the Wind Boy, Garuda. That's the Wind Boy's name. Lightning Boy, Ragnarok? I don't remember. I don't fucking know their names. There was not Ultima, but it was like the pink one that I really liked, because it could just destroy any group of enemy for free. I don't know, there was a decent amount of them, and you could only have tacos. So true. What's up, Pravda? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so that sort of offset it a little bit, because you could only equip 3 of them, which meant the abilities you were going to be using, and by extension, the way you played the game was going to be slightly different, which was cool. I do like that aspect of it, but I don't think it really offsets that, like, most of the gear in the game was your weapon and armor, which were just get the one with the highest numbers. That's it. That's the strat. Have fun. What's up, Garga? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Bourbon. We are bourbon. Nice to be able to breathe. Heck yeah. I wish I could do that. It's way too goddamn stuffy. I even turned the AC on, like, right before I hit start streaming, which is why I was so late, because I was like, let me fill up my water, let me get a snack, let me turn on the AC, let me get myself comfortable. I even got a blanket in real life, because I know at some point it's gonna get way too fucking cold in here. And then I'm gonna have to put the blanket on, and then I'm gonna have like a nice 10 minutes of cold, and then it's gonna go back to warm. What's up, JC2? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. But no, Final Fantasy 16, I keep losing my train of thought because I'm complaining about how goddamn hot it is. Gonna take a shower. Enjoy the shower, gamer. I'm gonna take one of those after this because I'm goddamn sweaty. Oh yeah, so you had the sword and the armor in 16, and that was just, you know, you get the highest number. That's it. There's not really anything to it. Some of them were like higher tier, and you had to go kill stronger boss enemies, like you had to do the hunts, and that was cool. That was cool because, like, a big problem with RPGs I've found, mostly to do with older ones, newer ones have mostly gone away from this, and 16 being no exception. It used to be that to get like the best weapons in the game, you had to do some arbitrary bullshit, like avoid lightning 100 times. I think it's 100, whatever it is in Final Fantasy X. The thing I could never actually be asked to do when I played that game. It takes a lot of that out because that's just annoying, and a lot of the time you would never get it. Oh, and don't even get me started on Drakengard. Drakengard is actually peak that. Who the fuck's going to stand around for 20 minutes or walk through rooms in a particular order or go approximately northwest? You know what I'm saying? So it takes a lot of that out, and that's another aspect I liked. But at the end of the day, all it was is kill this enemy and you'll get better stats. But to be clear about the challenges thing, because that's a good point, Garga, Breath of the Wild, it has a lot of cool stuff like that, is that it's telegraphed to you that, like, you need to go here. It may not tell you the solution to the puzzle, it may just present it to you, but at least it telegraphs it, where a lot of the time, especially in older RPGs, it was just like, hey, if you happen to do this, somehow you'll find out if you get the weapon or not, or the gear, or whatever the reward may be. I like the challenge. I like doing cool shit I wouldn't do otherwise, but I also like knowing that I have to do that. So it did that, but like the disappointment is that like the ultimate weapon that you would get for doing such a task is just plus 20 to your attack and stagger. So like, and then the because that was all building up to the accessory system, which you would think like, okay, these will probably have some like game-changing stuff to them, but it's like, no, There were ones that like recharged your powerful abilities slightly faster. There were some that made certain icon abilities do a little bit more stagger, a little bit more damage. And that was pretty much it. You had like the increase pee pee poo poo stat, whatever it decided to be. And even there were these golden accessories that did really game-breaking shit. And it's like, okay, well, why would I not just put these on instead of doing the other ones? So that was a big complaint I had with the game. The story was generic. I already talked about that. I mean, it's by the Final Fantasy XIV people. We knew they were going to make a high fantasy story. They tried to do some stuff that flopped pretty hard because most of the hard-hitting moments with like the branded stuff happened in side quests that you didn't have to do. And then when they did try to interlace that in the main story, it was like not great. So like, I think the one that really did it for me was a side quest, a very easily missable one for the record, because there is a point where these side quests become unavailable. So if you're not like me and you're a freak where you have to do everything in a game, you may not have even seen it. There was a side quest in that game where there was this little girl and she comes up to you, the main character, and she's like, hey, my pet is missing. Can you help me find my pet? So you go on this long quest trying to find her pet, thinking, you know, it's a pet. It's like a dog or a cat or like, you know, maybe a tarantula if she's weird. But you get to the end of this quest line and oops, that's a whole ass person that was the pet and also they're dead. Oh no. And that really hit because like, you know, even with how dark some of that stuff was, I mean, I wasn't expecting the pet to be one of the branded. That was fucked. And it really showed how much the non-branded really did not treat the branded well. That was cool. It was not a main story event. That really ought to have been a main story event. So that was another complaint I had with the game. The gameplay, the combat was better than 15. Again, low bar. I was expecting it to have more like combos and stuff, but really it was, you have your one basic attack combo and then you have your icon abilities. And what you would do is you would use your icon abilities to inflict stagger. And then while you wait for them to refill, you would do the same basic attack chain. And they tried to introduce this cool thing, and by cool I mean pretty standard, where like which icon you're using at the time had a different element, but elemental weaknesses were not a thing in the game. And note this is all without playing the DLC as well. Maybe the DLC introduced some of this. I do kind of want to get around to playing that offline for my own sake, because it actually looks kind of fun. There's some combat-based DLC that supposedly adds a lot. It makes the combat seem a lot better, but you know, for my money, it was a lot of like, you know, just doing the combo and then doing the abilities over and over again. And there was some strategy to it, but for something that was kind of trying, I feel like with the marketing as well as the people they pulled in. I mean, I think they said they even took some pointers from one of the DMC people, like the main Devil May Cry guys. It really, like I was expecting a lot more than just ability spam. But as far as things go, none of that really stood out to me as like a game-ruining experience. If I were to give it like an unbiased score, I would have given it like a 6, maybe 7. The other thing was story pace, and the cutscenes would go a really long time, but I mean, that's been what Final Fantasy's been going for a while. But then an interesting thing happened about a month after the game came out. I was watching video essays while I did work, as I am wont to do. I do that frequently, because it is good background noise, and also I feel like I learn a lot about it, about like, you know, how I can better present ideas vocally and on paper. And also just the topics a lot of the time are super interesting. I'll watch video essays on things I do care about, video essays on things I don't care about. I will watch an 8-hour video about Victorious, a show that I never watched, because why would I not do that? It's 8 hours of background noise. That's my ASMR. But no, so fucking, I watched, hi, yo, what's up, Drill to the Heavens? Welcome, welcome, hope you're doing well. The 15-hour iCarly video, yep, that's the one, I've watched that one. What was the one you sent me? It was more than 15, wasn't it? You sent me one that was like 25 hours, and I lost my mind. I don't remember how long it was exactly, though. It was 38 hours, that was the one. I don't even know how they did that. I didn't think it was possible to upload a video on YouTube that was longer than 12 hours. But fucking... all of this to say that I was clicking through, looking for like long videos talking about bullshit that I either liked or didn't like. And I found one from a guy that I really like. I really like their essays, and maybe we'll watch it. Maybe that's what we'll do with the stream. Maybe I'll like watch it and point out like when I had certain realizations about the game, because I find that a lot of my like post-mortem, post playing the game, I found that a lot of their opinions line up with mine, but I didn't realize it until I watched the video. Because while I've just laid out like the complaints I had with the game while playing it, I didn't line out what I realized about the game after the fact. And I thought that was interesting. And that's the point. This really long-winded whole thing to get to the point about how video essays and game reviews and other game-related media can affect perception of video games. Because the realization I had after watching the video was that like it really did change my whole brain. Like it takes people pointing out things to you for them to notice it, for you to notice it, either before or after the experience. Because that little like hint earlier of me not having watched any reviews or anything about Final Fantasy 16 going into it, that was unique for me. And it sort of made me think about like, you know, what games would I have had a different experience with if I hadn't watched any reviews, or if I had watched a different video talking about the game. And I'm trying to think of an example in recent memory. God, I don't really play video games off stream anymore. Oh no. Fucking, the goddamn, the motherfucking, what have I played on stream? Maybe we go that route. Shit. Oh yeah, Void Stranger, yeah. That is a good one. When I'm hyped for a game, I seek out reviews. I just like to hear other people talk about them. Yeah, exactly that. It's like, if I have an interest in thing, I'll just hear people talk about it because I like hearing about the thing. That's an interesting one. It doesn't really forward my point, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to talk about it. Fear and Hunger. I don't... it may surprise you to know if you know anything about my taste in video games, but I don't have any interest in playing Fear and Hunger. And the reason being, I watched a lot of video essays before playing the game, and they were all like hyping it up to be like this masterpiece of subversive gameplay, and like, oh well, it's hard, but like it's hard and bullshit, but it serves an artistic purpose. And then I watched Rui play it for like an hour, and I was like, this isn't fun. I don't want to play this. And then bizarrely enough, I guess someone while I was sleeping one day put a fucking Neuralink chip in my brain so that now my thoughts get turned into my algorithm. About a month ago, I found another video essay, and I watched it because it was about Fear and Hunger, and despite not wanting to play it, I do actually enjoy hearing opinions on it. And it was someone saying pretty much the same exact things that I thought I would think if I played it. And I was like, hey, there it is. It's validation. I've heard a lot of good things about Fear and Hunger 2, Termina. I might play that one. But like, now that I've heard someone else say like, hey, as a concept, Fear and Hunger is pretty cool, but playing it is one of the worst things I've ever done and it didn't feel worth it, I'm like, yeah, actually, that sounds exactly like the experience I think I would get out of it. So there's sort of an example, but it's not like the exact type of example I was looking for. God, I don't play video games, fucking apparently. Oh, Lies of P. Lies of P is an interesting one. Because I watched a lot of reviews and a lot of people play it and everyone was like, hey, this is pretty fun. And then I played it and I was like, hey, this is pretty fun. And I don't know that I actually would have liked it as much if there wasn't as much positive press around the game. And I don't say that to say that Lies of P isn't a banger, because it is. I really like the combat is peak in that video game. But it doesn't necessarily do a whole lot new. And that actually segues into another point that I'm gonna try to tie this all into later, because I don't wanna fumble the bag too early while I'm still, like, as I frequently say, revving up the fucking lawnmower that is my brain. But at some point we're gonna talk about Stellar Blade. So I'll sort of give you all something to stick around for. I don't know, I don't think I would have liked Lies of P as much. I would have liked it. I don't think I've ever, like, read a review of a game that said it was good and then played it, and then I was like, damn, this game is really not good. I think the closest thing actually would be Void Stranger, where I played it, and I thought that a majority of the package was good, but the ending and some of the puzzles were very obscure and like, to me, especially towards the end. So like, while I still think that most of the game is great, and I think that a lot of people, especially if you're into puzzle games, especially if you're into block puzzles, you should play Void Stranger. It's a good game, but if you stop after the third ending of the game, I also wouldn't blame you. And I would also tell you that getting the fourth ending probably isn't worth it unless you played their previous game. Which I am blanking on the name of. I did actually consider, I kind of wanted to stream that to see if it made things make more sense. But what I ended up doing instead was reading an explanation of how they tie together and what the plot of the first game was. But yeah, surprise sequel. And also the sequel won't make sense unless you played the first game in the series. So, you know, all that exploration, all those cool revelations and cool puzzle solutions, and your reward is suck my balls, play a bullet hell. But all that being said, I do think that, like, my perception of the game going into it was that it would be better than it was. So that actually is a good example where, like, I definitely had a higher opinion of that game at the start because of the media I had consumed about it beforehand. But, like, it ended up not actually being that great. And a similar thing happened to me with FF16 after the fact. I'm trying to decide if I want to watch the video, if I just want to make that the content. Is that allowed? Am I allowed to do that? Does that break fair use? I feel like it probably doesn't if I have things to say, but I'm not really critiquing it. It's mostly just going to be like me agreeing with it and interjecting with personal stuff. But I guess that's technically reacting. Fuck it, let me find it. All right, React Andy, let's fucking go. It's been a while since I watched it too. Part of it is because I haven't watched it recently. If I was better content creator, I probably would have watched it ahead of time, so I knew exactly what it was gonna be. But, like, I don't know, most of this is off vibes because I wanted to do another one of these streams. It's a lot less structured than than the last one for sure, at the very least. Let me... Oh god. Okay, this is a good shot to open on, actually, because it'll give you a good sense of why I like Thor's content so much. Let me transform, reset transform. What is it? Why is it? Oh, that's why, because I did something to make my PC run better. Okay, now we're gonna crop in just the video. And that should be good enough. All right, here we go. I love this being the opening shot. It just immediately gets into the shit that I love this person's editing so fucking much. Anyway, let's go. Let me just scroll down a bit so you can see the channel. Thor High Heels. Please do check them out. They're very cool. Alright. Fucking the Pika Wars. Also, the video is called Final Fantasy 16 and Masculinity. Oh. The audio. The video audio. Oh god. There we go. And turn off BGM. Christ. I'm so good at streaming.
I only play Japanese games. They have yet to be ruined by the woke mind virus. I mean, there's nothing woke
about,
shadow. Whatever this is, and what could possibly be more Japanese than Square Enix. Been a minute since I caught up with them, to be honest, after 2022 basically being the year of the square. I needed a detox, so what's going on over there now? Forspoken? Paranormal?
Shout outs to Forspoken, by the way. Okay, gotta be the funniest thing of all time.
Huh? What?
They really dropped this whole game thinking it was going to be a banger. A banger content as a Surface game, and then it died within a year. That's actually impressive for how long that game was in development.
At least they did listen to me by booting the big bad
and
boss
probably how much money
it
cost.
Seems like they kept Gex somehow, and they even unshitted Chocobo GP, which is cute, and I legit do just hecking adore the Final Fantasy series and all that surrounds it, warts and all. Dirge, Crystal Bearers, Tobal.
Wait, what? Hold on, what? What Final Fantasy game is that? Hold on. Also the tower defense one. I've never seen that one or that one. But like, what is this an actual Final Fantasy product? Or is this a bit? Does anyone know? Has anyone seen this? I don't believe that this is a Final Fantasy product. Hold on. This wasn't even the point of the video, but what the fuck? What?
Tobal. And even the numbered games are pretty great. Ain't to say that I can't have my hang-ups even there, though. I mean, Final Fantasy IX could add faster combat, I suppose.
Real?
15 could have been finished. 16,
real?
Can't say I was a big fan of its rollout. Just something about the tone of the writing, the way people talked and dressed, as shown within the trailers, hit it to me as stoically, generically fantasy.
There we go. I already agreed with this one.
Manly, in a way I'm not used to from this series.
It does get more into...
Granted, here's the part where I disclaim. This video won't be in any way...
more. He does get into more things that I fucking agree with, but I mean, that one I was already thinking. Another thing, actually, though, because he mentioned it, I really feel like, and am I crazy? I feel like, I lost my train of thought, because this Contra Rebirth cover is actually sick as fuck. I want to play this game now. Fucking... Contra mentioned you. What's up, Cheese? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Contra mentioned. Fucking... I feel like they didn't promote Final Fantasy 16 as much as I would have expected from them. Did anyone else, like, leading up to it feel like that? I feel like I saw next to nothing about the game, and then suddenly it was like, oh, it's coming out next week. Haha. Get a PS5, you fools. Like, am I crazy? Did I just miss a lot of promo? But like that was something they didn't really touch on, but like fucking I feel like I saw nothing about the game. Maybe it was just that the promo material was so generic that, like, I just didn't register it. It's kind of like going to a grocery store and looking past all the stuff you don't want. You just don't register that it's there. Like, you have your speedrun route through the grocery store, and you're like, okay, well, the thing I need is in this aisle, and the other thing's in this aisle, and I'm going to optimize my route through this store to minimize the amount of time I'm in the store. Does anyone else do that, or am I a freak? Because I really don't like grocery shopping. I want to be in and out in 15 minutes, and I usually am. I think my PR is like 8, because it was particularly empty on that particular day. But anyway, I don't know. The point got away from me. They didn't really promote the game as much as I would have expected. That was a statement. Anyway, back to this. Be so phony, you don't have a bitch in your ear telling you it sucks. Man, fuck you. I'll agree with you on Little Caesars. Little Caesars owns when you don't got a bitch in your ear telling you that Little Caesars is mid and cheap and bad. But not grocery shopping. Grocery shopping is ass. I want to be home playing gacha games. I don't want to be in a store with old people.
Box art.
Anyway, back to the video. What the fuck?
One Arnold clip where he's all like, "I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no shit from anyone. I smoke my stogie anywhere I want.
I don't have to find a hideout place like you."
That shit is incredible. Fun, cool, great, amazing, and pure. Shout out big dudes. Shout out whatever this is. Bring it back. Normalize crop tops for boys.
True.
But it does hit weird to me.
Oh god, I forgot about
from
Twink
Final
Clive.
Fantasy.
I forgot he was a
That's
twink at the beginning of the
series that's had
game.
A very storied, controversy-ridden, subversion.
Really, anything in America is spicy enough for me, so I basically have to cook. Yeah, I don't mind grocery shopping as a concept. I like being able to make my own food. It's cheaper, it usually tastes better, it's better for you. But
the few that are would be 1 through 5. Some
I don't really like
spin-offs
being in the
Tic Tacs
grocery
or
store.
Adventure, and maybe 9 or 12. But even
I wish there was a way I could
cases,
get
would
groceries
argue
delivered
that
to
they
my
fall
house
under
without
high
paying a delivery fee.
High fantasy
Like,
being
I'm cool with
somewhat
tipping
more
the
respectable
drivers.
works,
Like,
Lord of the
the
Rings,
drivers
with
need to get
very
paid, but like,
consistent tones, stern,
what does the
medieval
delivery
English
fee
phrases,
actually
speech,
represent?
vague,
Actually,
overthought.
can't we Uber Eat groceries? Yeah, but you have to pay the delivery fee. And this is another point, another tangent that has nothing to do with game reviews, but whatever. Because it's on my mind now and I'm angry about it. What the fuck does a delivery fee represent for like Uber Eats and the like? Uber Eats doesn't do the driving. A freelancer does the driving, and they don't receive the delivery fee. They only receive the tip usually. Maybe a little bit because like Uber's required in certain jurisdictions to pay like a minimum whatever. Definitely, certainly not livable, but they're required to pay something. But like, what is the delivery fee? What inconvenience am I placing on Uber related to the delivery? The actual money that the company gets and 2 taxes? Right. But they already add a fee for that. And they already add taxes. When I go to get a delivery on a food delivery app, I have the fee, which scales based on how much you order, which that one's fair enough. I'm using an app, you have to pay for hosting, you have to pay for your employees who make the app and maintain the app, you have to pay all the business costs. I'm okay with you adding a tax line. That's standard. I live in America. Every fucking thing has sales tax. When I go on Steam to buy a digital object that the government doesn't or shouldn't, I guess, care about, it puts a tax line on there. Fair enough. What the fuck is a delivery fee? I don't even think I'd be that upset if they just combined like the regular fee and the delivery fee into one line. But it's so misleading because Uber, DoorDash, etc., they're not doing the delivery. And this is only just now dawning on me, and it's really upsetting. Anyway, fucking video.
Kind of tropes and typicals.
What the
elves, fuck? Castles, princesses, dwarves, all done in the most.
Oh yeah, they were talking about how most Final Fantasy games aren't actually fantasy, which is true, and also kind of goofy.
And with the exception of Tic Tacs, I'd say the remaining FEFFs ain't high, but rather pulp fantasy, which is also where many old adventure games sit. Where it's like, hey, you know, you got the castles and some knights, maybe a dragon or goblin or two, but the fourth wall isn't too important and people speak much more casually and the tone can be a lot lighter or jokier. And sometimes shit'll just be like, fuck it, here's some goddamn funfair.
Actually, speaking of tone, so I've been shit-talking Final Fantasy 15 a lot. I do have to give it one bit of credit. I really like the, like, American 60s mixed with fantasy monsters and creatures and stuff that game's setting had. Everything else about it, at best, mid, but it had a really fucking cool setting for a fantasy game. Anyway, continuing on.
Same way Final Fantasy
I should really play some of those like point and click old adventure games. Actually, those hit different.
There's hella anime influences and Asian pulls all over the place that wouldn't otherwise be there that way. That said, what Final Fantasy, in my opinion, has always dodged is the let's call them less fun aspects of pulp fantasy, or even high, or just fantasy in general, being that a lot of it can feel like it was written by very dude-ass dudes. Boys, maybe more so, with shit oft being sleazy and horny ass, or really hard.
Shoutouts to Baldur's Gate 3 for that shit.
Binary roles and maybe some racism.
I don't mind people who are horny for Baldur's Gate 3 characters, but like,
the idea of the self-insert superhero.
I mean, there's like a game there. It's not just
like
Asterion. It's not just Shard.
That way when I wrote about it, but Magus is pretty textbook that. At least older pulp fantasy though, right? I think modern shits, there's more room for queer expression and dweeby D&D campaign energy, but given when the fantasyist Final Fantasies all came out, I think it's really great that they dodged that bullet. Boldly breaking gender norms with how Bart's, Vaughn, or fucking Rex look, or who Ferris is. It also deconstructs heroes with the homie Cecil, and in general had ample room for daring
Dating someone with a little bit of plot. I have 500 hours in it. I'm allowed to say this. Fair enough.
And environments, where things being
Fair
cool,
enough.
Flashy,
Did you know you can play that game with a controller?
Gay, pretty, and edgy.
That sounds like a really good Donathon reward, actually. That sounds incredibly
Never
annoying.
self-inserty or overly masculine either, with
I might hold on to that
well-defined
idea.
characters who say, think, and do their own shit going on their journeys. And to me, Final Fantasy XVI, based on the trailers, made me fear that it was going to eschew at least some of that in favor of appealing to a Netflix, Game of Thrones, Witcher series big money crowd.
So true. So true. So true. The 4 smiles of FF. So here's what I mean. He has really good editing.
I honestly fucking loved it. Clive is such a cute, fluffy himbo bimbo boy. A sweet summer child, damaged by fuck shit, but not at all cynical or overly broody. Displaying a wide range of emotions, cracking smiles, crying tears, getting angry, and not being afraid to share his mind at any point. He's definitely not a insert guy, is what I'm saying. A very FFian protag in his complexity, edge, and trauma, and I also just think he looks really cool. Dark Knight Cecil, X-Squall, X-Vincent Valentine energy, black and red, spikes and belts, scar, emo hair.
Shadow the Hedgehog looking ass. Oh god, not this line. I remember this.
Well, that didn't work. I think we're gonna need a bigger sword. Mine's bigger.
Laugh track, laugh track.
Clive, but I meant that figuratively.
And while the plot is very much centered around
Thank you,
him, I
Clive.
think how it's not at all a lonely game.
Funny
either.
stuff.
I was big worried that you'd only be
What
with
the dog
Clive
doing?
and Dog, but no, tons of people come and go in your party throughout. The homie Sid is with you a good chunk of the game. The bestie Jill is with you for most of the game, as is Torgal, and like 12 and 10, there's all these wee settlements like farms, mini towns, passing by travelers and caravans, all providing folks to whom you can chat to and things to flourish up the horizons with. And for sure, it is true that you don't get a solid party per se, at least if you don't count woman and dog as a full party, but even still, to me, it felt as if you might as well have had. As the gang of friends Clive amasses is just so goddamn sweet. As someone else
What's up, Kime? Welcome, welcome up. You're doing well. Actually, on that point though, that was another thing I actually meant to praise the game about, but didn't. Final Fantasy 16 did not have a party system. You pretty much played exclusively as Clive. But for at least to me, I never really felt like it was like that. Kind of like we just heard. I mean, it does kind of feel like there's a pretty wide cast of characters. They all serve some kind of purpose, even if most of the purpose is die so that Clive can take your power and use it to fight evil. But I mean, there was a lot of characters. There was a lot of character variety. I was kind of worried early game when you were only playing as Clive that that it would be like a mostly Clive story and you'd be like on your own, or like maybe you'd have the dog with you. But no, actually there's a lot going on. It fucking,
Yeah, I know.
there's characters that aren't
couldn't believe it
Clive.
either. It's so dense.
Oh hell yeah,
Mention
Gex
this
referenced.
beautiful
Gex mentioned.
turquoise and white rock range in the already amazing oasis-ridden desert. Shout out all of its environments, honestly, and of course the gameplay taking place within them was also pretty fun. With some, even by Square Enix standards, absurdly flashy combat, maybe only outdone in particleness by last year's Valkyrie Elysium.
I should finish Valkyrie Elysium.
Oh my god. Oh, the fact that it's
That was a
close
good
to
game.
that in
I like
can't
that game.
Make out shit on screen, but I dig its still ability and be an action game.
The plot was kinda
comparable
ass,
to
but I like the
actual
game.
Action games is hella impressive. Me though,
Has
I think what
Drakengard
I
3
thought most
vibes.
about the game side is the structure and pacing of it all.
So is
How
BG3
linear it
just a
can
hentai
be
dating
with
sim?
the-
Most
a
people
few
seem to
seconds ago
agree.
mentioned NPCable townables, but also cool set piece based cinematic flourishes or just some visually breathtaking hallways, walkways, and how those can seamlessly open up into towns, dungeons, or massive open landscapes of various
Burb, yo, what's up, Techless? Welcome,
feeling
welcome.
as
Hope you're
if a
doing well.
nice cohesive blend of Final Fantasy X and 12 exploration-wise, which is great for me, as I think those are honestly structurally my favorite ones. It just amounts to very tight pacing. Like I mentioned in my last video with
What the
Pocket,
fuck?
here too, there's a ton of directing in its
Oh
season.
yeah, the Final
And with
Fantasy
a budget
15 mobile
this
game.
big, it just
Forgot
makes
about that
16
one.
super fucking
Is that still
dense
live?
and unspreaded. Every play session akin to a whole other game's worth of game. Cause legit, there is just so many towns, and changes in scenery, or new characters to meet, or people to bump into again, and heaps of big twists in story or character development, set pieces, quiet times, side quests, and animals to photograph.
What's the bird doing? Hell yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
So many birds. Ooh, rat. Rat.
Also, look at this dude over here walking his chicken. That's so fucking cute. Moreover, though, I appreciate the fact that
Oh, I
you
hated
do
this
go
fight.
to space,
This
and that
fight was
there
actually
are
ass.
robots
It's
and
cool that you go to
mechs inside of
space,
these
but
weird
it was ass.
techno-prog rock dungeons. Even having
Prog
those
rock.
fucking item orbs
Kinda
that
is.
Final Fantasy 13 used to have, which
Leading Ezra to the arcade to play My
some
My.
of the
So
ancient
true.
Structures do look a little like 13 ships, maybe, in how pointed and white they are. And in these zones, you also fight some very Seath-looking enemies with some very Seath enemy-ass names. Oh god, is the ancient civilization only hinted at the fucking Final Fantasy 13 world? What the fuck? All the little
Wait,
references
actually,
are cute, though,
I
too.
forgot that was mentioned because eventually we get to the point where we start talking about the negative aspects of the game. But like, I'm having a brain blast because like it does all of the ancient civilization stuff does look very FF13. Now I think about it. Huh. Big think. I doubt that was what they were going for. They probably just thought it looked cool, but makes you think. FF13 remake when? FF13 remake when, Square Enix? FF13 remake when? I know you're watching. I know you're watching, Tetsuya Nomura. FF13 remake now, please. Now, hand it over. I'm not asking. I'm giving you an order. I am your boss now. I am the CEO of Squeenix, and you will give me FF13 remake. Okay, back to the video.
From the spoony bard, the market with a wall and a brothel, very cheeky, very clever, to the return of Mid.
Shoutouts to
and
Mid.
of course, the VV Scarecrows. Damn.
Hell yeah.
If this was a more general
Love
video,
VV.
I easily could have gone on
You
for
ever just
dozens
die?
of minutes about all the minutities, like, say, the look at a particle effects, the intense designedness of each
Ow.
and every inch of land,
God damn
the
it.
atmosphere and music cohesing together to provide so many swaggy moments.
Yeah, this game's presentation was a banger. I don't really care about that sort of thing in my games in general. I'm not a huge presentation person. I want games that look worse and take less time, made by people who are less overworked, and no, I'm not kidding.
Faintly tinting the realistically dense forestation.
But like, goddamn, does this game look good?
Music, a brook and a bridge overlaid with a clean, stylish UI. I mean, legit though, this battle UI looks fucking incredible. It's giving straight gun grade. And said whimsical music is also pretty great. Or the part where there's fucking rapping.
Oh
during
god,
the boss
this was
fight,
my
or the
favorite boss
jazz in
fight
the desert.
actually.
Heck yeah.
The one in the desert.
Because of the trailers, I was worried the OST would just be orchestral wank instead of Final Fantasy wank, but then I probably shouldn't have underestimated a composer who is capable of this.
Wait, that's amazing. Oh my god.
You think maybe
I didn't know
the
that
OST
happened.
could
Hold
have some
on.
metal?
Hold on. I need to find that
It
concert.
has this
We need to do a
really
watch
faded
along.
Gray, low contrast darkness that reminded me not only
The fucking
of
automaton.
P360
Two
original
automatones
in a good
even.
way,
I don't know
but
what the
also
second one was
of
for, but it was
faded
there.
Old metal album cover arts. Same with these forests. It's a really cool, unique vibe for a FF game, and I think here rechanneling the rock ambitions of Nobuo would have really fitted hella. Though, no. If I hadn't made it clear by now, Final Fantasy 16 is not on some Game of Thrones The Witcher shit. It has more references to fucking Dragon Ball Z than anything else, with the whole Spirit Bomb
That's kinda
sequence
true.
being recreated. And it's also a Japanese enough of a game to where these medieval European-looking motherfuckers are doing the classic European.
Oh yeah, this
custom of
also
sending off
kind
the
of
dead
clashed a
with
little bit
lantern.
when this
I
happened, but it was
suppose
kind
all
of
this
cool
simply goes to
blends
show
of
that you
aesthetics.
can't ever trust trailers. They're always cut with a certain aim in mind that can be wholly devoid of the final product.
That's actually interesting. I didn't intend for that, but that kind of ties into what we're talking about too, is like a game's, like, it doesn't even have to just be reviews or people talking about a game. A game's own promotion can have a lot of influence on your impact, because I mean, they're saying a lot of the same things I am, where like it looked very generic and boring. And honestly, I mean, I still think it was definitely more so than this video, but like it definitely wasn't the game that I thought it would be. The plot and the setting were a lot less boring than I had expected. So I guess in that aspect, I did kind of go into the game expecting a little bit different from what I got, and was pleasantly surprised. So there you go. We're tying it back. We're tying it back. This stream does have a point. It's not me doing a just chatting stream just for the sake of doing one. There you go. There you go. Proof that I thought this out well ahead of time.
Just let me do the marketing next time, okay? I got this.
What the fuck? Wait, is that a real game? Hold on. Oh my god, that actually is the real cover art. Oh my god.
See? You're gonna sell millions.
Come, your radiance. The Rowena Syndicate awaits your pleasure.
Oh, not another meeting with silly old men. They're so boring.
And before
It
FF13
would
remake
be
announced
very
tomorrow.
easy
God, I
to
hope so.
cut a
I would actually
trailer
pop
of, say,
off.
12 like this too. Taking only the old round table men, Bosch von Bronsenberg, the big war parts and airships and summons, ignoring you being a goobery little twink and it mostly being a fun jaunty adventure. I don't care when the plot goes all like, the Nethicite, Magicite, the glory of Dalmasca. Like, dog, shut your fucking medieval mouth and suck my nuts. I don't give a shit. But
Real?
I love everything around it. How the cast develops. the
Wait, hold
amazing
on.
look,
Go back to that
Magicite,
shot.
The glory of Dalmasca.
I'm getting so
Dog,
distracted by
shut your
this,
fucking medieval
because
mouth and
Thor-
suck my nuts. I don't give a shit.
I've actually been introduced to so many cool things through his channel, but like that's like a fucking like an electronic sign in sort of like a cyberpunk-ass medieval. I like this setting. I like the setting of whatever game this is.
Everything around it. How the
Oh, is that
cast
FF12?
develops,
This is
the
FF12,
amazing
isn't it?
locales,
This is
the
FF12.
addictive gameplay,
Yeah.
the music,
Okay.
art direction, design, and so
I need to
on
play
and so
FF12.
forth. That's the same here. As 16 also easily could have led with Teen Clive.
I bet I'd
the
like it.
Final Fantasy child.
The entire
comedic
combat
or
system in
quiet
that game is
moments,
basically like
towns,
quasi-programming, and I unironically
the
love that
big
type of
edge and
gameplay.
the many women's, but
Probably because I'm a
nah,
programmer.
I guess they chose that potential Game of Thrones bag over their usual audience. On the other hand, all those generic-looking guys who are more or less the first thing ever shown of the game were all dead before the first 3 hours or so were over.
Oh, true.
I don't know if that's a commentary or not, but it sure is something. Something that does honestly make me a little worried. I mean, Square does see things. Things like how Dude Bros reacted to Mobius Final Fantasy, and how it led with a super sexy, pretty andro boy in a skin-tight virgin killer top. I love everything about this, but motherfuckers were mad ass at his ass, and maybe notes were taken on the marketing end of the company. Same way 14,
I love that
despite
Moogle
everything
from
it
whatever
has,
game that
leaves its
was.
surface level presence with a boring beardy pro-tac man.
True!
Clive we have at home all
True, actually. All right, Final Fantasy 14 heads in the chat. I know there's at least a couple of you probably. Can you justify why they went with generic white man as like the promotional warrior of light? They could have done so much. They could have gone with like Bunny Girl, a Lalafell, a Cat Girl. Why this guy? Justify that one. Take that, atheists.
almost. Promo Clive, at least. Grr. Angie. Not Game Clive. He's just a little guy. But this shit worries me in that... Man, I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like feeling as if the thing I like is being cucked into closeting itself to look more generally appealing. Especially because in this one, there are ways in which my concerns do express themselves in-game. Being that Final Fantasy XVI is very much a game about men doing things. And that paired with the sort of selectively trad fantasy setting trickles down into a few things I think are fucked up.
All right, here we go.
Damn,
Pre-release for
son.
BG3 that does all the stats for the character creator. Nice.
Now, here is where
I don't, but I think I know where it probably went.
Cartoonishly giant massive
But I don't know
dude or
exactly the
Clive
detail.
having
Why are you
a
making
little
so many
beardy
boring
or
generic
Set's
white
voice
dudes?
being deeper than
Oh.
30 Yakuza villains combined.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
That's
hold
actually
on.
not
Is
where
that
it...
giant massive dude?
Really? Of all the options you have in that character creator, you're gonna make a boring-ass white dude? I'm actually kind of mad about that. Make a cat girl with a cock, or like a demon girl. The demon girls in that game is hot, actually. Like, there's so much cooler shit you can do with character creators.
Or Clive having a little beardy, or Sid's voice being deeper than 30 Yakuza villains combined. Wait, hold on. Is that?
Oh god. It's Jack
Not
Garland.
with all of that. Nor would I attribute these features to a gender per se either. So, why do I care so much then? Well, there's a few reasons for that. First of all, I really just like Final Fantasy characters often being how they are. The legions of androgynites, vulnerable men who can cry or be awkward, lesbians, tons of badass women, gender benders, and hero men who get questioned and prodded to hell and back. I don't think I've ever talked about this in my scripted content before or really anywhere publicly, but I am intersex. Branded boy at birth, but as I grew, it quickly became clear that my body had very different plans. It's not gonna go into details here, though I'd be down to talk about it more elsewhere if anyone would find that valuable, but that led to me just never relating to the other boys much at all as a kid, despite still being put into that category for a bit. And over the course of my teens, it made my gender and the eventual realizations thereof go burr. I am not a man. nor do I feel like one, or want to be one, or seen as one, but I still have some experiences akin to it, and that just endeared me so much to how Final Fantasy, or honestly Square in general, does its
As a side tangent to that, I thought this part of
and being a kid, seeing characters like
this part of the
Kuja
video
not
I
being
find
able
really
to
interesting
English
because
yet,
I never
just
thought of
assuming that he
Final
was a
Fancy
woman
characters
based on
that
how he
way,
looked,
the way
only to
that
later
like
find out that, whoa, that's a dude. You can be a dude and look like this.
the way that
Fucking
Final
blew my
Fantasy
mind,
characters looked.
dog.
I mean, it's on the
James
screen.
Planet, doors open,
That kind of character can
etc.
actually be
And
really
again,
good
nothing
representation
wrong
for
with
people.
action
So that's
hands,
another
and
interesting
I suppose
thing.
also that if we can have a Final Fantasy game for the girlies,
I think
a
that's
game
really
for
cool.
the gays, and many as such, then I suppose we can also.
I wish
have a
Final
game for
Fantasy
the
would do more
boys.
of that.
However, I've always just loved this series for being a big, bold alternative to that. Nor is there no shortage of games for boys. I'd prefer art to have a wide spectrum of.
Hold on,
I've
something
always
about
just loved this series
some-
for being a
something
big,
about
bold alternative to that.
fucking
Nor
games
is
for
there no
boys here. I don't know what this is, but I want to play it so bad. Is that Mario on a lawnmower? What is this? Games for the boys. Here it is. If you're a he/him, this is your game right here. Yeah, brother.
Of games for boys. I'd prefer art to have a wide spectrum of content so that there's more for more people to enjoy in more ways. And so, thus why I started to feel some trepiducy at how 16 was presenting itself in the aforementioned trailers. Especially after 15 and Stranger. I realized the boys in 15 are very much specifically fan service for those who like men, and yeah, they're cute. And Jack, or a Stranger in general, is such a meta-ass, deconstructive-ass game that him being a angry man guy man is the exact thing that story pulls apart and prods at, and I think that makes it a way smarter game than
I should
most
also
people
finish
are
this
willing to
game.
give it credit for. But
I didn't
that's
really
still a
enjoy
lot of
it from a
consecutive
gameplay
booty.
perspective, but it does
And
have a lot
I
of cool
was a
stuff
tad
going on.
worried that 16 would go down the path of being about stoic, angry hero, man, dragon slayer guys without any of the prior two's caveats, asterisks, and coolities. Luckily, this ain't the case entirely. There's many andro motherfuckers. There's actual, confirmed, undeniable gay shit.
Oh, this was
A lot
also
of dudes
cool.
sobbing
That was
and
such a small
crying,
part of the
and
main
again,
game that I
Clive
kind of
is
forgot
very
about it, but
emotionally
like,
vulnerable. He's a
shoutouts
cute
to
boy
Final Fantasy 16
character
having
that
like
got fucked up
an
by
openly
both
gay
the
couple.
darker and realer shit than what most Final Fantasy boy characters go through, and I think that makes him a fun take on the formula. However, as I alluded to, I do very much feel that the men doing things core themes of the plot and the setting.
That was interesting. It also kind of ties into what I was talking about last week with 9S and men go crazy trope.
Forgive the cringy academic terms here. A sort of patriarchal normative tradness. Men doing things and women reduced to wenchly, maidenly bitches off on the sidelines, side-hoeing and supporting. It's the most fantasy Final Fantasy, and so it does fall into some of the fantasy pitfalls as I laid them out earlier, and no amount of devil crab can fix that.
Shoutouts to Devil Crab.
Shout out Jill, though. I
What the
love
dog
Jill.
doing?
Jill's great. She's cool and funny, because like Clive, she has straight man vibes when it comes to the dynamics with everyone else, and she has her own motivations and moments and growths and personality, and takes the lead in a fair few situations whenever Clive feels a little too awkward or keeps him grounded when he gets too emotional. Though, in all of that, she does also stand in service of him in a way, which I think is fine. I'd argue Tifa, for example, does to Cloud 2. Doesn't all have to be like 10 or 12, where it's really more so Yuna's story than Tidus's or Ash's over Vaughn's. But given that you play as Clive alone, it does feel a little bit like she gets shifted to the background a lot more than she really even honestly
It did also want
actually
more
is. I mean, she's
Jill
with you in your party
character
for
development,
like 90%
but
of the game, but I
we're
sort of
still not
feel
to
like
the
the
meat.
reason this hits different is due to the motherly, down-to-earth, caring, keeps me from doing dumb shit sort of vibe.
There's actually
that
one specific
characterizes
line
Clive's and Jill's
that I'm gonna
relationship.
stop and
In
talk a long
basically
time
the
about.
exact same way many
But
men
again, this was a
traditionally
very
look at their wives
well planned out
as if
stream,
a
which is
addition
why
to
we're
their
watching the whole thing
existence
instead of
rather
skipping
than
to
a
it.
existence
Because I
on its
absolutely
own.
100% know the timestamp.
Doesn't
He who,
devalue her
haha.
character or actions, I don't think, but it does sort of fit as a cog in the man machine, if you will, especially near the end where her support becomes very support as Clive more and more becomes the main guy. This goes for everyone else in the story too, mind. As shit goes all kill God with the power of friendship, which I do like. And I love the whole party, but it still stung a little to see her backseated a lot near the end. Especially with how it does the transition of her summon powers to Clive by way of a kind of a sex scene. And I do not like making a sex scene a transition of power like that. Like thematically,
Real?
that feels bad to me. Woman gift
Real?
to man, unga bunga. Like
Real?
Is that what this is? Some caveman shit?
I did
Clive
always
owned
find
the
that
bitch now? What the fuck?
part of the plot
It just read as very
really
dated,
strange.
and that's certainly
Really
far
strange.
from where it ends. You see,
Heck yeah,
Clive's
damsel
mom is
moment.
an awful person. Really mean to the slaves in particular. And the king, Clive's dad, who is just as responsible for said slaves, talks to Clive all like, haha, my bitch wife, am I right, son? Don't mind your mother. She's just a little silly with it. Only for her to then become more or less the main villain for a bit. And sure, yeah, she is a terrible fucking person. Screw her and everything she stands for. But, the framing I do not like. Like, take Braun, right? Great villain. Shitty person also. Evil queen just as well. But it's not her womanness that is made a explicit part of her evil. Braun's just a funny Frieza hand-rubbing villain dictator type villain. But Clive's mom really is like the bitch wife. Sleeping her way to power and using that to twist kings to suit her ways and spawn a evil, corrupted parasite Hellson to take their place. Which, I mean, that's just like the nagging sitcom wife and the manipulative seductress tropes taken to such a wild fucking combined extreme. It feels to me like this shit was written in the 80s or some shit, you know what I mean? And it's bizarre to see that in a Final Fantasy game, and naturally, it stops far from here.
All right, so I'm gonna stop there and actually kind of present what I'm gonna be getting into more later. Is like, and that was one of the moments where I was like, huh, these are things I didn't really catch, because, you know, despite that being a read of it, the lens through which I was playing the game was hee hee hoo hoo, fun game, because it was a Final Fantasy game that I was playing, and it was good and there was stuff to do. But when you step back and take a look at it, and especially hear stuff like that, and another one we'll get to later. Boo, yo, what's up, JD? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. It did make me sort of reevaluate a lot of the plot points of the game. So to set up some like basic stuff, I'll avoid major spoilers. But like Thor just talked about her, the main protagonist for like the first leg of the game. She really is just like that trope, but like particularly evil. Another thing to set up about the plot is that a big part of it is that anyone with the ability to use magic inherently, because most of the world has to use the crystals to do magic. People who are inherently able to do it, they are known as branded. And essentially what happened is the people in this universe were so scared of that because they thought that those people would take over and become powerful because of the magic, that they ended up effectively outcasting them and eventually turning them into slaves, hence the branded, because they would brand you to show, okay, you're a branded, you can use magic, you do what we say now because we're afraid of you. That's like a big aspect of the game that gets explored, especially early on. It kind of gets dropped at a certain point, and Thor is going to talk about that. So I won't get too into the weeds now. But that's like another aspect where like you can see the obvious social commentary they're going for there. I mean that exact scenario, minus the crystals and magic and fantasy shit, is a thing that's happened a lot throughout history. You know, I won't go into specifics, but like you know exactly what I'm talking about. And they really, like, it feels like they attempted some kind of like statement or some kind of like, I don't know, something, maybe don't oppress people sort of thing. But then they end up failing to follow through with that in a number of ways. And that's one example of that, where like the main big bad woman is bad because woman. And similarly, there's a scene very early on in the game where there's another woman who, while not necessarily being the same type of person, not necessarily the same type of, what's up, second meme lord? Welcome, welcome up, you're doing well. Like, she's not like use sex for power, rah, 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 but like, I mean, one of the first scenes you see with her is the big bald guy, right after they got out of like a really important geopolitical meeting or whatever, they bone in the hallway because man and woman. And it just feels so reductive and out of place when it seems like they are trying to make some kind of comparison to real life history and bad things that have happened and trying to say something about it. It almost feels like they're going for, I don't know. I mean, it feels like they're going for something, but then it feels like they're going for nothing at the same time. Like, it feels like it's saying something, but they're blasting Ram Ranch in the background 10 decibels higher than the actual message. And it's a lot of that, I think, that really, like, I didn't examine that when I was playing, because like I said, and like Tekla said in the chat, it's exactly that. It's very easy to think uncritically about video games, because the point of a game is to have fun. And also talking about this, I mean, this is all plot stuff. It's a video game, so you get like one big hit of plot, and then you go, you know, like multiple hours with basically nothing happening. It's just you're playing the game. Then you get to another one. It's harder. I mean, it's harder to really like keep track of that kind of thing, because by the time it's happened and it registers with you, you're already on to the next thing. You're already doing more side quests. You're riding a friggin' chocobo around doing other stupid shit. IGN reviews Xenoblade Chronicles, where they constantly mispronounce names and give it the lowest score. I feel like I've heard about that one. IGN has its own can of worms, and this stream isn't about IGN, mostly because I don't like dunking on games journalism without having some greater discussion around it. But also just because I think it's been done to hell and back. But we will be getting to, I think it was an IGN review, because that was another thing I wanted to go over on this stream. I think it might be fun. The SMT5 review, but yeah, no, I mean, back to the point of this is just like, and this is what I found interesting enough that I thought it would make sense to maybe talk about it and get my thoughts out about it, because I found it really interesting that none of this registered to me until I consume content related to the game after the fact, and I found that really fascinating with how it would change my perspective of the game. Because what it makes me think is, like, if I had heard all of this before going into the game, I think my experience would have been significantly altered. I think probably a lot of the plot points wouldn't have hit nearly as hard because I would have been analyzing them through this lens. And I think that's really, really interesting to talk about. So, yeah, again, we'll get more into it later, because there's a more interesting point that Thor makes that really, like, that was the one where I was like, oh, that's an interesting read of the game. That shifts my perspective on it entirely. Yeah. So we'll get to that when we get to that. But I just wanted to stop there and sort of talk about it, because now we're starting to get into that part of the video.
The Angry Gap? Huh. Wonder what type of clothes they sell there.
Part of the map kind of looks like a butthole.
A lot of the time, to show how bad a bad dude be, they do so by making him needlessly violent towards women. It's not ineffective.
Oh, also
exactly,
this.
But A, I already dislike this guy because he killed all of my friends, and B, when you continuously show men to be bad by only showing their actions as opposed to women, that makes me think more so of the writers than any of the characters in question, because that's just objectifying women. Turns them into narrative tools to serve only to flesh out the characters of the dudes. And it definitely does this enough to start to feel as a pattern, or at the very least a crutch, and I think that sucks. Same way a lot of the women are sex workers. I have nothing against sex work whatsoever, and I think normalizing neutral or positive portrayals of it in media is a good thing, as being just a thing some people do, right? But when so many of the women NPCs are that blended with everything else, I did also start to look at that a little bit like, Certainly when many of the other female characters on the side are people you get to know through Sid. And it's sort of implied that Sid slept with all of them, which also fine on its own. Whatever, but that too within this whole package is like, why are almost all the women you talk to prostitutes or Sid's side bitches? It, I'd argue, definitely adds a type
And
of
again, like,
framework,
we're listing
a
off
point
more
of
things
view,
now that,
a
like,
filter
if you
that
go
the
back through
women
and
in
watch
this
my
game are
playthrough of the
looked
game,
through as a whole,
like,
being
you
that
would
all
notice I
boys
never
in
caught on to any of
FF16
this because
exist
I was
only to
viewing the game
provide
through an entirely
character
different
growth
lens.
or depth to the male characters, but will very rarely exist on their own terms. Which brings us to Benedicta.
Here we go. Now we're talking about Benedicta.
Benedicta
She's
is
the
one of
other woman I
villains
was talking
who,
about.
like Clive's mom, sleeps around.
Here's that
two
scene I was
characters
talking
at
about,
once.
actually.
And like many of the side woms, also had a thing with Sid in the past. When you first approach her, he'll be all like, "Are you sure you are happy living like this? Cause I guess, God forbid, she'd have fun sleeping around." And then she gets yeeted on in a boss fight, and then Clive sucks up her powers, after which she loses it and becomes all weak and crazy. And then she gets SA'd in the woods.
I do remember
upon
thinking that
which
this
she has
scene was
a
particularly
Advent
disgusting and
Childrenian mind
unnecessary
prism with Sid, where she's
when
all
I
like,
played.
"This is what I get for not listening
I will
to
say
you,"
that, like,
which,
this part is so fucking
of
unnecessary.
course, then she gets her powers back, but in a evil, crazy way now, and I just... You can only write something this gross and tone-deaf regarding sexual assault if you're just some fucking guy who knows nothing about it. And it just sucks that it's
True.
in here, because it really didn't have to be. She could have just lost her shit, and it would have been like, yeah, okay, tropey, malicious, slutty woman.
Yeah.
Bitches like that exist sometimes. It's a character, whatever. It's not ideal, but I'd say she has more than enough depth to her to make it more than just that. But adding SA in there is just a little twisty aside to get her to go Super
Yeah, it's
Saiyan
just
you
so
can kill her in
unnecessary.
a admittedly stupendously epic
Like, she had
kaiju
plenty of
battle.
other
It's
reasons to
fun.
be that upset.
It's not like it doesn't lead nowhere, because of course it leads to character growth for Sid and Clive, but I don't think I need to explain how a woman's assault and subsequent death leading to character growth for two men and a neat little power-up for one
Is
of
YouTube
them
okay?
says something about the point of view from which this was written.
Not letting people send
It's
messages,
a
apparently. Y'all good?
madness,
Y'all there? Am I talking to nobody
That's
right
not
now?
me assuming the gender makeup of the dev team. I do think it more a product of the
Oh god,
setting
oh
and the
fuck.
plot they're in, or
Y'all
perhaps
dead?
some lost in translation
Y'all dead?
Game of Thrones themes, or maybe Joshua P's directing. I don't know, and neither do you. But just tonally, to me, this is where the men doing things thing becomes really fucking ugly. Because it does.
I think
feel
y'all
as
are
if
dead. I
these
think YouTube
aspects were
died.
written in the fucking 1980s, and where that does result in some cool over-the-top action, it also
Because my
made for
analytics
some
are also real
unfortunately
weird right
sexist
now.
scripts. Given that this is the first title in the series to have sex in it.
I don't know, I can send messages. Maybe. No, it's not showing up. YouTube. Bud? I was finally getting to the interesting part of the stream, goddammit. Bruh. I'm so mad. Oh well, whatever. The VOD will always be here, probably, maybe.
I was mentally prepared, but what I couldn't
Alright.
have fathomed was just how pervasive it all is, too. Like, Jill offhand mentions it maybe having happened to her as well, and it also sets up a whole revenge quest for the big villain guy, and some imagery that, in this context, I think maybe should have been thought through more. Defo Clive calling her a monster before killing her immediately after.
That's so weird.
Not ideal. And granted, SA is a unfortunate reality of the time and place the setting is based upon. pillaging and looting wasn't just burning down houses and finding treasures, but I mean, the game has fucking Mughals in it. And magic.
True, the game
It's
does
not
have
set
Mughals.
in medieval Europe, so I do take umbrage with it being in here in general, and I especially take issue with how callously it's handled. Not to a game-ruining degree for me, though I wouldn't decry anyone who does feel that way, as I do like the story still. It gets rather dark in many other places as well, which often did work for me, to pull quite a few hard-hitting brutal gut punches. The punishedness of it I like too, and the edgy grimdarkification of Clive is great. I'm glad shit like that is coming back. Give a motherfucker a goddamn demon arm or a single wing, shit rules. And setting
True.
it in a medieval world of poop and piss added to it.
I've never actually talked about it. I'm going to talk about my design to stall while I wait for YouTube to get its shit together. Every once in a while I think about it, but I never point it out. Whenever I'm on my game screen or like my media screen like I am right now, it kind of looks like I only have one wing because the other one's getting clipped off by the side of the canvas. I just thought that was kind of neat. I'm like Sephiroth if he was gay and trans. And orange. And not nearly as strong or cool. But hey, I got the one wing thing going for me, so that's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. I don't think YouTube's coming back. It was really sad. It's really unfortunate. All right, let's game. YouTube, please, I'm begging. I'm begging you, please, YouTube, let people chat in my chat. YouTube, please. Count people as viewers, please.
I mean, really, more games should just have a poop level. It's an underrated type of level. Certainly, with
True.
though it does, again,
Shoutouts to poop
contrast
levels.
them with genuinely nice and funny characters, beautiful forests and fields, cozy towns, and more things to get you to care about before it'll eventually slice them down in some way. So, on that front, I do think I get what they were trying to do. Same
Are we
with
back?
all the slavery
Oh my god, a
stuff
chat
and how
message?
darkly
Yazri
tinged
EP?
that
We're
makes
back?
the many
We're so
NPCs
fucking
and
back?
side quests you come across. And it muddies even the people
Hell yeah.
who are on your side with how commonplace and integrated this is into its society. It reminded me a lot of the Valkyrie profile games in this regard and the original Final Fantasy Tactics. Though,
Or not.
that
Oh, we're
said,
so back. We're
even
back!
With this,
Woo!
I think just
Let's
means
go.
to ending really complicated things while not fully weighing the
We did
weights
it,
of
we
their
survived.
complexities is bad. As it is rather blatantly obvious that the writers did not understand the full scope of this shit, pulling things like, "Oh, Clive, your daddy was so kind to his slaves, he treated them just
Oh,
like
now we're getting into
people,"
the thing.
as if that somehow makes him better. Or the entire goal of the game being to kill God and destroy the crystals effectively.
Actually, I'm gonna go back a
ending
bit because I don't know if
is
the stream
that
was up.
integrated this don't care about how it, or it'll eventually slice them down.
I'm gonna go back to the beginning of the thought because I have no clue if the stream was up or if it was just chat that was borked.
Same with all the slavery stuff and how darkly tinged.
Okay,
that
yeah, here
makes
we
the
go. We're
many
getting into the slavery
NPCs and
stuff.
Side quests you come across, and it muddies even the people
Yeah.
who are on your side with how commonplace and integrated this is into its society. It reminded me a lot of the Valkyrie profile games in this regard and the original Final Fantasy Tactics. Though that said, even with this, I think just means to ending really complicated things while not fully weighing the weights of their complexities is
I don't think
as
YouTube's
it
back.
is rather blatantly obvious that the writers did
My
not
analytics are still
understand the
being
full scope
weird
of this shit,
and
pulling
fluctuating
things
like shit.
"Oh, Clive, your daddy was so kind to his
Oh well,
slaves,
I'll
he
just
treated them
assume
just
that
like
stream is
people,"
live
as
and
if
that people are
somehow
listening to
makes
me
him
talk
better.
about
or the entire goal
whatever.
of the game being to kill
Whatever we end
God
up
and
talking
destroy the
about.
crystals, effectively ending magic, with magic users being the enslaved, which I can't help but sort of see that as being analogous to kill God to make black people white. I know that's not what the game argues.
Yep, so that right there, that was the thing. So I'm really hoping the people are listening because this was the thing that sparked the whole shift in my brain with regards to this game. Is it, well, that's definitely not what they were going for. Like, by no stretch of the imagination were they going for, hey, if we just make everyone the same thing, there will no longer be a reason to enslave people. That's not what they were going for. But, like, they fumbled the bag so hard, and I think Thor even says this in different phrasing, but the fact that that's even a possible read of the game is kind of concerning. for obvious reasons that I won't get into because I'm not a political channel. But like hearing that and then like reanalyzing what the game was about, like, yeah, it kind of is that, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, without magic, if we just make everyone the same thing, then we're good. Which no. No. What? No. But thinking about it like that way, it's pretty much exactly what I said, and it took my perspective from like, the story didn't really have much to say. The ending was generic, but there were some cool character moments, to like, oh, they could have done so much of this game so much better that like it's kind of unreal. And that like, I don't know, it's interesting because again, I know that's not what they were going for. I just think they maybe should have not made it. YouTube, let us back, please. I think we're finally actually back. I think we might actually be back. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if there's like a temporary outage or what, but we're back. For now, for the next like 5 seconds before it breaks again, probably. But no, like I just found that so fascinating because I didn't pick up on any of that while actually playing the game. And, you know, there's certain people like Thor and other people that do like video essays and video reviews and, you know, other stuff. And they play games differently, I think, because they go into it with an analytic mindset. They're like, you know, what can I make a video about here? How do I feel about this at this particular moment? And they're thinking a lot more critical about games than a lot of people who actually play the games are. And I do think that's valuable, but more than that, it's interesting. To expand upon the valuable part a little bit, I mean, it definitely made me think about the games I've played since watching this video, and I've had similar experiences in the past with other things, although, again, I'm not going to be able to come up with an example because my brain doesn't work, but I've definitely looked at games differently, like even games entirely separate from the game that videos like this are talking about, because of stuff that I heard in other videos. So it's like, you know, they'll pick up on a thing and I'm like, huh, I never thought about that way. And now I'll play another game and I'll be like, oh, I see a little bit of that in this. And I never really considered that. It's kind of something that happens passively. We're all on the internet. We clearly are on YouTube because y'all are watching me. I'm streaming to YouTube and also watching YouTube. We all like consume content like that, or maybe if it's not like video essays or reviews and stuff. Also, I don't think we're back. This is the worst. YouTube, why do you do this? Why is this happening? Fucking the goddamn the motherfucking God, this is so distracting. YouTube like being a broken pee pee poo poo right now is really janking my steez. No, because it's like, and I just found that interesting. I mean, the point the video is trying to make, and the point that we just went over, the one that like sparked this, is in itself interesting and worth talking about. Maybe by people who know more things about stuff like that, like social issues, etc., than me. Again, I am not a political VTuber, and I don't think I really could be because I don't really have the knowledge required to make well-informed statements or opinions on anything even close to that realm. But what I can talk about is that stuff like this is really important because it does let people who aren't necessarily as aware or as qualified to think or talk or anything about that kind of thing think about games more deeply. And it doesn't necessarily just need to be the way games tell stories, the way games do social commentary. It can apply to all sorts of things about games. It's a multifaceted medium. It can be things about like gameplay, like, oh, well, here's a game I liked, and now I'm watching someone tear apart all the things that are, you know, not as good about that game as other games. And I don't know, I think that has a wider reaching impact than just, oh, that's kind of interesting. I think it does actually affect, you know, the way games end up getting developed, because the people who work on games are also people who consume content. People who play games on the internet, people who stream video games, like Ezra Andromeda on youtube.com, a very cool streamer you should check out if you've never heard of them. They're an orange burb that uses they them pronouns. It's pretty cool. They're pretty cool. I mean, it changes the way people play games. It changes a whole lot of things. And it was really in that moment when I started thinking about it that I'm like, huh, that's pretty cool. I've definitely seen the way I think about things change from consuming content. Your mileage may vary with that. You know, obviously a lot of content is content farms, but like, I don't know, I would say, I don't know, it's something fascinating. It really does change your perspective on things. You know, essays, game reviews, etc. It is valuable. It's cool. It's pretty sick. I would love to have another example of something like this happening to me in recent memory, but you know, again, it is a mostly subconscious thing. You sit here, you play games, you listen to other people talk about games, and it just kind of, you know, it's you kind of absorb that. You know, it's not to say that you should listen to a game review or that you should listen to an essay on a thing and be like, okay, that is my opinion now. You absolutely shouldn't do that. You should form your own opinions about things. Again, I think pretty highly of FF16 still. I thought it was a pretty fine game in most places. The more I consume the Needle Drop and Pitchfork for music, yeah, exactly. And it's not necessarily specific to games. That's just the field that I have the most experience with. Obviously, I play a lot of video games. It can really be any sort of media. But no, it's cool. It's a cool thing. Yeah, no, what was I saying? Absolutely form opinions. Absolutely, like, have your own thoughts about video games. Ow. But, like, I found it to be a cool thing about how my brain works, and, you know, as a result, I would have to assume many people... God damn it! Many people probably have a similar sort of thing going on, and I don't know. I'm sure I've heard people talk about it before. I'm sure I've had conversations about it before to varying degrees, but I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about that I find that kind of thing really interesting and really valuable. And that was kind of the whole point of the thing. So it's all downhill from here, because that was the one thing I'd actually planned to talk about. I also just thought this was a really good video essay that I wanted to direct people to. And also the channel in general. Again, Thor High Heels. Please do check them out. They're very cool. Very, very good videos. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the point. I'm debating just ending here now that I've gotten to like the big pee-pee poo-poo, because YouTube is shitting ass right now and not letting people chat, but I don't know. Now that my brain is working, I kind of want to keep doing things. So I think I'll keep doing things for now, and we will hope that it comes back, that it fixes
a
itself.
Possible reading just goes to show that these older Japanese dudes were.
Because I do have another thing that I thought would be fun.
And that goes for the essay shit too. It was bad in MGS5, it's bad in every 80s action movie where it serves as a motivation for the hero to beat up punks, and it's bad here for much of the same ill-considered, deeply duded, meat-headed writing reasons. Big shout out to Cantankerous Crone, who turns out to be a real salt of the earth cool lady and a solid squad addition. Love Mid as well. Doing the airships and pulling Yuffie like hijinks and peace outs. Shit's cute. As I said, I really like the cast in general. They're all very multifaceted, human, flawed, and emotional. Taking a Evilise tactics plot and making it more about the people than the war bullshit, which is more so a backdrop for it all. And to its credit, its madness of men doing things it's not entirely unquestioned. Like, if you really want to get right down to it, it is ostensibly a plot of angry dudes bullheadedly laser-focused on tunnel-visioned goals dragging down the entire world with them. Which is
that's true.
Commentary, but it sort of makes that more of a the folly of man sort of thing. Man in this case, medievally meaning humans. you know, like mankind, which is a style of phrasing I hate, but it sort of fits here, I suppose, as what is happening in the plot is
This kind of thing is also where the whole every piece of media is political comes from, because subtle details of people's worldview bleed into everything in ways you don't realize. Exactly. And while this video isn't necessarily about that, he did kind of make a joke about that at the front of the video about like wokeness and, you know, Japanese games not being political, when like, you know, Metal Gear Solid is right there. Like it's right there. That game is unarguably like political. And even when it's not, it is, which brings me to the next topic, which is why I'm hoping I can stall this out long enough to get to it, because for it to work, it does actually require some input from chat, because I'm baffled by something tangentially related to that, and I want to see if I'm going insane or not. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. Like, I'm getting chat messages, but then it seems like it goes away for a hot minute. And I can tell because, like, my YouTube analytics are being a pee-pee poo-poo right now. Like I said, they keep jumping up from, like, the people that are actually watching, and then it's down to 0, and then back to the people that are watching, and I'm really confused. I'm really kind of annoyed, actually. I wish YouTube was working. But, yeah, I don't know. This stream was actually about how YouTube breaks a lot. There we go. That was the actual topic of the stream. But fuck, video.
Select few set of dudes manipulated in the end only by their own egos more so than anything else. Couldn't be like real life, right? Never. Same with the slavery-tinged darkness. And I do like its flawed, messy humanity like that a lot, regardless of it leading to a few aspects I find distasteful, and mayhaps not questioning some of those aspects enough, if you ask me. It's a good game, okay? Shut the fuck up. Stop writing your lame little articles. I can't read. Last year, Elden Ring impressed us all with the term,
Oh, Erdtree, grant me succor.
but then Stranger of Paradise one-upped it by being a better game all round and it having it also. However, it wasn't voiced, merely represented by text. Hence, thus, why I am elated to announce that
You find no succor to the South Travelers.
Final Fantasy 16 is the 2023 Sucker Game of the Year.
Hell yeah.
Go. Let's suck.
Thank you, Thor. Thank you for providing content for me, for my React Andy stream. Alright, back over here. Turn desktop audio off. But yeah, no, I thought it would be neat to share just some thoughts I had. There wasn't really any greater point to any of that. I just thought it was neat. Thought it would be something I could talk about for a decent amount of time. Hopefully YouTube's back, because I do have some other game review related things that have popped up more recently, or just generally that I wanted to touch on and thought it would be fun. Let me do that to make my computer run better. Cool. We'll go back to streaming YouTube in a moment. I'm gonna pull my model back up so I can see what I look like when I'm moving around. The motherfucking, the goddamn. Okay, so way earlier in the stream, if you were here for all of it, you may remember I mentioned that Stellar Blade was gonna come up. And woo, it's time for Stellar Blade to come up. So we sort of talked about, how it's like, oh, well, the Western games industry is, oh, it's woke, the woke mind virus. And again, I'm not a political streamer, but like, that kind of shit, stupid as hell. Don't be like that. I remember a Steam review, or I think it was in the community post actually. It was for Dredge, that's the name of that game, the Eldritch Horror fishing game, where it was like, is this game woke? Should I buy this? And someone was like, well, you buy your ship upgrades from a woman. And then the reviewer was like, nope, I'm not buying, because of that, which like really it's so like comically stupid that I feel like it had to have been parody at that point. But with that being said, there's been a game that on Twitter I've been seeing a lot from that crowd in particular talking about, and the game, I don't know why I'm being like coy about it, it's Stellar Blade, where a lot of those types are being like, oh, this game is gonna save video games, they're putting hot women in the games again, we gotta buy it up to show the companies, the game developers, not to go woke, rah. And they make a lot of claims about like games journalists and other like people in general, saying that the game is sexist or bad or like, you know, all sorts of things. And I feel like I'm going insane. And you know, I mean, I shouldn't take anything from that crowd at face value, obviously, but I feel like I haven't seen anyone say anything remotely similar about the game to what they're saying people are saying about the game. The most I've seen is like, hey, I'm not really into the character design. It seems kind of like, I don't know, too stylized, or like, you know, I've seen that one of the characters in particular kind of looks like a child, which I'm gonna be real, I kind of agree. It's kind of weird and creepy that character is sexualized, but I mean, I've played many anime style video games. It'd be like that. It's kind of just something that comes with the territory. I don't like it, but I can ignore it for the most part, unless it's like particularly egregious. And I've seen people say that like the game's kind of mid, it doesn't really have an identity of its own. And I've seen some comparisons to Nier Automata where people are like, oh, we'll just play Nier Automata, this game is ass. Which came to a head today, actually. This wasn't originally part of the plan to talk about, but just today a bunch of articles came out. Apparently Yoko Taro did an interview where he said that Stellar Blade looks better than Nier Automata and that he's jealous of the game. But it sort of made me realize, like, a lot of people are saying that the game is getting a lot of negative reviews and bad press for being over-sexualized or a Nier Automata clone. And while, again, I have seen some of that to some degree, I feel like, and I don't know, this is where I ask y'all, have y'all seen any of that? Because I haven't seen any of that. I've seen, like, the ratio is probably, like, I've seen 9 people saying that people have said things like that to 1 person actually saying anything like that. And I feel like I'm going insane, right? Because, like, that's not happening. Nobody's, like, shitting on the game for having a character with tits and ass. That's not a thing. And if it is, it's definitely not the majority of mainstream attention the game is getting. So, like, have y'all seen that? Am I going crazy? Am I losing my damn mind? Like, genuinely. Like, this is a genuine question. I would love to get perspective on this. You know, assuming YouTube lets y'all out of gay baby jail long enough to actually type in the chat whether you have or not. I haven't seen it. Yep, okay, well, there's one person that agrees with me. And I guess the thing to do, I can do this, I can just use the internet. I mean, if it's really mainstream, if I just look up Stellar Blade and go to news, I mean, it's all gonna be the Yoko Taro stuff today. But, like, I don't care about the, I do care about Yoko Taro. Maybe review? Okay, here's something. IGN France apology on Stellar Blade's opinion after it backfired. IGN France chief editor said Eve, the main character, is not a representation of a real woman. Turns out it's based on a real woman, which is true. She is based on a real person, although, again, heavily stylized to fit the aesthetic of the game. Controversy ignited just after IGN France published their Stellar Blade preview article. Upon analyzing the game and its features, they expressed an opinion on Eve's character design that sparked significant contrary. And again, this is coming from IGN France, and I refuse to believe France is real, because that thought terrifies me. Okay, let me read the original article. Here's like a picture of it from one of the freaks that are going crazy on this. I've seen it a whole 2 times. Hey, what's up, Corvino? Welcome, hope you're doing well. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, seen it a whole 2 times compared to, like, the 50 million people tweeting about it. Like, that's what I'm getting at. It's so baffling to me. And it's at least a little bit tangentially related. It also gets into I don't want politics in my games. Because someone having tits and ass is not political. And these people are making it political, when what you'll find is these are the same people that are like, oh, I don't want politics in my games. Like my gamers in Christ, you are causing the politics to be in the game. Okay, it's not new, and other games have chosen to highlight the strengths of their female characters, but where a Bayonetta stands out with an iconic character design, or a 2B from Nier Automata inspires an entire generation of cosplayers, Eve from Stellar Blade is just bland. A doll sexualized by someone who has never seen a woman. Okay, I mean, aside from the last part, I would say that's relatively innocent. I mean, let me just, for the sake of, because I'm gonna agree actually here. At risk of demonetization. Where's like a good, just like, I don't know, this one will fucking work. Probably. I want this one. Or no, why is it being a pee pee poo poo? Okay, here we go. I'm just not gonna bother cropping it too much. Like she does look generic, right? Like, I do agree with that take. Like, I do like the art style. I like the clash of the more realistic environment with the more like anime, you know, very obviously a character sort of art style. But like, she doesn't really have much going on that other game characters do. I mean, she's just like here's another one. She is kind of just a girl. You know, based on a real model, sure. And, you know, they should have done their research. I don't disagree that fucking IGN France should have done their research and not made that claim baselessly. But, like, she do be kind of generic, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't wholly disagree with that take. Okay. The original article is still up on IGN France's site. You can find a disclaimer after they deleted their original opinions. IGN France is an independent branch of IGN, pointing out that any opinion there doesn't directly represent the main brand's view. And this is like, you know, I'm not saying that there aren't people saying this about the game, that like, oh, well, it's kind of sexist, is very clearly made by men who like hot women. Rah, rah, rah. We're back. I can like the video again. Let's go. Oh, we are back. My analytics are back to normal too. Let's fucking go. YouTube got their shit together. But no, it's like, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm sure there are people out there with that opinion, and they're allowed to have that. I mean, I can kind of understand where they're coming from, that like, the game is very clearly carrying itself on, we have characters with tits and ass, and that's a viable marketing strategy. I can't necessarily fault them for that. And the studio as well. I mean, they made Nikke. Like, that's what they do. And, you know, get that bread. Get that bread. Get that head, get that bread, then leave. Fine. But, like, you can hold that opinion. I don't necessarily agree. I think from what I played in the demo, I kind of agree. Like, it doesn't really have anything going for it that other games don't. But I also don't wholeheartedly think that's a bad thing if the game is fun to play, which, from what I played of it, I didn't really, the demo didn't let you get far enough to really experiment with some of the later game combat options. It did have like that one boss fight you can play. But what I played, I mean, it feels good. It's fun to play. I'm probably going to play it. I don't think I'm going to stream it, but I haven't made up my mind on whether I'm going to stream it actually. But I'm probably going to play it because I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, drawing from other games that are good and making a game that's good. But I do kind of agree that it doesn't really have an identity of its own in that sense. But it's very few and far between. Like, it's stuff like this that it's just not nearly as prominent as those types would have you believe. It's not like a war over wokeness in games. It's one rogue editor at IGN France. Not the entire company IGN. The one branch. And even probably just the one person who wrote the article at that branch has that opinion. It's not a widespread thing. Most people I've talked to about the game, like, the closest thing to that is like, isn't that the game about staring at butts? And I'm like, yeah it is. And that's it. I mean, nobody's like mad about it. They would have you believe that people are mad about it, and they're not. I mean, rare games journalism W, I guess? I don't know. I mean, in my experience, they're not really prone to doing that anyway. It seems like more often than not, the trend is to apply that to someone on Twitter who happens to be adjacent to a games journalist outlet and extending that to be the whole industry. But that's a whole other stream entirely, and a stream I'm not going to do because it is this whole other can of worms. But I just, it came up today, and I wanted to be validated in that, like, this isn't a thing. That's not a thing. Nobody's mad about Stellar Blade. I'm not mad about Stellar Blade. I mean, people out there are, clearly. I don't see them. Maybe they drank an invisibility potion. Maybe they're waiting for the release day and they're all gonna... We're gonna have fucking Stellar Blade haters visibility day. Shout out to Trans Visibility Day. I like having one day a year where I can be seen. Every other day of the year I'm 100% invisible, which is why I have to do VTuber streams. If I did webcam streams, it would just be an empty chair. But yeah, no, I just wanted to rant about that real quick. Yes, Helldivers 2 was making fun of them. Yeah! Oh, there's so much media about that. Well, like that, where people think it's making fun of something, but it's actually making fun of them. Another one that comes to mind is Blazing Saddles. But again, that's a whole genre that I dare not fly too close to. Because that is also absolutely making fun of those types. Buggin'. Alright, the last one I was gonna do... We talked about a games journalism W, so now we're gonna do... This is completely unrelated to anything else. That we've been talking about, but I thought it might be fun to tear this one apart. We're gonna read because I've never actually read it in its entirety. We're gonna read the Shin Megami Tensei 5 review from IGN and make fun of it to end the stream. Something a little bit more lighthearted. Again, trying to crop it in a way that doesn't bother me. There we go. Cool. So, fucking Shin Megami Tensei 5 feels like the edgier, less sociable, younger brother of Persona 5, even though Persona began as a spin-off to the series. Both branches of the family share much of their cast of highly customizable demons, like mythological Pokemon you smash together to make even more powerful ones. They have similar... On the previous topic, how many people Amelie Dury has shifted the view of Eroge by being one of the first people I've seen actually engage with Eroge in a genuine way. I don't know too much about that. Is that the one that name dropped Drakengard? Because if so, based. Highly customizable demons like mythological Pokemon you smash together to make even more powerful ones. They have similar, excellent turn-based combat systems that encourage you to fish for your opponent's weaknesses and make smart use of every resource available to you. What's missing from the Persona formula here is a lot of its heart, and this is the thing that got a lot of people pissed off about it. I'm actually interested to find out how I feel after reading the review, because I've never actually read it. I just kind of dunk on that one line because it's so head-ass. But Shin Megami Tensei 5 still rises to succeed in most other ways. The bulk of the action takes place across 4 expansive open areas of the Netherworld, an alternate reality reflecting a post-apocalyptic Tokyo crawling with mythological beasts and heroes. They range from the sun-baked desert expanse of Minato to the gloomy, blood-red badlands of Shinagawa, and each one echoes an area of real-world Tokyo with ruined buildings and major landmarks jutting out of the wastes. God damn. They have a very distinct vibe, diverging from a central theme of surreal techno-religious weirdness. While you'll fight lots of intense battles within them, these bizarre cityscapes also encourage exploration and even involve some tricky platforming to find all the hidden Mimon. Little red dudes that give you a currency you can use on miraculous bonuses for your whole party, or to customize a protagonist. And customization is the main pillar of SMT5. Since there are no human party members who stay with you the whole adventure, you'll build a rotating team of 3 demons who all have their own strengths, weaknesses, and special tricks. Fusing 2 or more demons into stronger ones is central to your progression. You can also hoard items called grimoires that let you continue powering up a couple specific demons you want to keep with you for the long haul, which I really appreciated. I mean, you're not supposed to do that. I will say that you're playing the game wrong, but I can also agree that that may not be the most obvious. But then Persona is also about rotating out your demons, so I kind of wonder how that would be. I don't know. That one was always kind of weird to me when people are like, oh, well, I don't like that your demons level up slowly. It makes them really not powerful late game. Like yes. Yeah, they're not, you're supposed to get new ones. Gaining new demons involves a negotiation system which requires learning each demon's personality and what kind of responses will please them, which admittedly seemed overly random at times, but it could also be pretty funny when I picked what seemed like the perfect response only to have the rug pulled out from under me by an unexpected objection. Like a vainglorious fairy who runs away if you call her beautiful because she's too shy to handle such a compliment, or an unhinged horse demon who only takes a liking to you if you insult him repeatedly. I do love SMT negotiation so much. Things get really interesting when you factor in the essence system though, which lets you teach skills from a different demon to an existing one, and even inherit their elemental resistance and weaknesses. Between fusion, miracles, and essences, it's possible to create some absurdly powerful and specialized teams that can take on almost any challenge. The way these systems interact isn't spelled out especially well, but I really enjoyed the gradual path to mastering them myself through trial and error. A hunger to experiment is a huge plus in this netherworld. I mean, maybe it's my experience with other SMT games talking, but, I mean, don't let this person play, like, any other SMT game, really? Because I would say of all of them, SMT 5 actually probably gives you the most information in series history for how a certain fusion is going to play out. But I don't know. But at that point, I'm nitpicking. Because also, if you're not super familiar with the series, which, you know, probably most people playing this game weren't, they probably saw, oh, it's like Persona. Which is kind of head-ass, but I also understand it because Persona is way more popular than SMT. I had a YouTube short go out about that on Monday, actually. I don't know, I wouldn't go as far as to say Persona getting popular ruined SMT or something. I mean, the game is the game. You can play it. You can enjoy it. They actually did a really good job in SMT 5 of separating it from Persona and making it feel like its own thing, in my opinion. Which, you know, was more than I probably could have expected given Persona's popularity. So, I mean, if you take the radical approach that, oh, Persona fans are ruining SMT, well, no. No, I think you're wrong. Stop thinking that. Just don't. Just don't do that. Which is why I'm finding, I think I'm actually going to go a lot easier on this article than a lot of people did, now that I'm actually reading it. But like, I don't know. It is an interesting thing though, going from Persona to SMT instead of SMT to Persona. I would have to imagine that would be kind of awkward in a way. And mastery is basically a necessity unless you want to play on the easier difficulty. Shin Megami Tensei has a reputation for being brutally difficult as a series, and I was able to see why even on its normal mode. Just using the strongest demons I came across naturally, I often got chewed up and spit out pretty quickly. Especially against certain bosses and in the last quarter of the story. That's only until I realized that the real challenge was in meticulously creating the perfect team for each area, and sometimes even each fight. All of the tools were there, and if you know how to use them, you can blow right past enemies that once seemed unbeatable. But there is no mercy to be found if you don't, so going in with the right mindset is a must. There's also a fair bit of grinding involved if you want to keep pace with the challenges ahead, which isn't that unexpected for a JRPG. Okay, I might take issue with this part. It definitely drags on at times when you might have to fight the same group of enemies 10, 15, or 20 times in the same area to level up. Some sort of randomized battle modifier just to shake things up now and then would have been really awesome. Again, I think about the showtime attacks and unstable shadows added in the Royal version of Persona 5 as examples of how Atlus has tackled this problem successfully in the past. You can skip some amount of grinding by cleverly exploiting a specific enemy type that you have to figure out yourself. But you can't avoid it entirely, especially toward the very end. It has been a little bit since I played the game, but what? No? What? Huh? No? Called it the Dark Souls of Persona? Let's find out. Let's find out. It autofilled. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about the quote and not enough actual source of the quote. What's up, Second Meme Lord? Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Hold on. Fucking... Yeah, I think it was made up. I don't think that's real. But yeah, fucking like, what do you mean grinding? SMT games are like, you don't... the Dark Souls of Persona quote. Is that from a real game review or did people make that up for SMT4? But no, fucking I think this does stem back to like what I pointed out earlier, where like you're not supposed to bring lower level area demons forward. You're supposed to fucking like fuse them and make them stronger and cater them to the fight you want to do. I have not played the game in a while, so maybe I'm forgetting certain parts, but like I'm 99% certain I never grinded in the game. In fact, I'm also fairly certain that I never did regular encounters unless it was a demon that I hadn't recruited to my compendium yet, or because I got ambushed. I pretty much only did like the like abscess fights and the bosses and the side quests. So like, what grinding? Just make better demons? When you're not exploring and battling your way through the wastelands, you'll spend a few short interludes back in the non-apocalyptic version of Tokyo, which felt kind of like an unnecessary minigame. You move a little pawn around a zoomed out cityscape, where there's really not much to do or interact with, but these segments are generally over before you know it. Each chapter also concludes with a substantial mega dungeon, though only one of the 3. A hellish fortress complete with challenging jumping puzzles felt significantly different from the rest of the adventure. The other 2 are mostly just hallways filled with monsters. The final dungeon sort of half tries to introduce an interesting new mechanic with doorways that start and stop time when you pass through them, but it ends up being less of a puzzle and more of a way to force you to backtrack. The solutions were all too mindlessly straightforward to feel like I'd accomplished anything. I do agree with that. I do think SMT 5 could have done with more dungeons, and I'm hoping that that's something they fix with the new route they're introducing in Vengeance. Again, I'm really excited to see what they do, because I don't think, like, it's been a hot minute. I know Persona 1 on the PSP did that, where there was a second route you could do. But I don't think an SMT game has had like a re-release with a completely new route in a while. It's usually like a bonus dungeon or something like that, so that does have me really excited. And I'm hoping they add more like dungeons and traversal gimmicks, because, I mean, to this person's point, the environments as a whole in SMT5, not really that engaging. If you showed me screenshots from 2 different areas in the game, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you the difference, with the exception of like the snow area, because that one had snow and the other ones were all sand. So yeah, that is one thing about that game that I will say, not my favorite, but like, what grinding? What are you talking about? The other area where SMT5 consistently fell short for me was the writing. It takes upwards of 20 hours to find any personal motivation beyond survival and figuring out what's going on. And the companion characters are also very underdeveloped. You don't get to spend enough time with most of them, for one thing, since they don't usually join you in battle or even have their own side stories. You run into them for a few minutes during cutscenes after... God damn it, body. And none of them seem to have in-depth backgrounds or even much of character arc. They exist mostly as decoration on a story that cares more about big concepts than people. The main story is definitely interesting, at least, and not just another rehash of God versus Satan for the control of humanity's destiny. While I won't spoil anything, the 3 or update or more, it turns out, possible endings are a bit more nuanced than that. I wonder what the story is there. Were there like angry comments? What the fuck kind of course there were angry comments, it's the internet. But that update probably has a history behind it. Although your decision is right up to the moment you lock into one path, don't seem to affect them at all, and things become pretty convoluted at the very end. It introduces an entirely new metaphysical concept through an expository dialogue dump at basically the last possible moment, which seems meant to recontextualize the whole situation, but then doesn't really explain how it works or even what exactly happened with it after the final battle. This left the last hour or so feeling like a somewhat cold confusion conclusion to an epic 80-hour undertaking I otherwise enjoyed. I do wish the alignment reps were more fleshed out. Yeah, there was a time where I probably would have been like, you know, the lack of characterization and story is the point. But having revisited Nocturne within the past year, I actually have changed my tune on that. You know, Nocturne was not a story-focused game by any stretch. But it definitely, like you knew what the characters were about. You spent a decent amount of time with each of them, figuring out like what their belief systems were, learning about them, NPC dialogue that would teach you more about them. And it was present through the entire game pretty much, that like, oh, you're eventually going to have to choose an alignment, and like you saw them come to their conclusions about what their reason was. Whereas in this game, I mean, you knew of the characters, and then fucking suddenly in the last stretch of the game, they had their alignments. It was sloppily done. I really think the game would have been a lot better if they started introducing the alignments after Chapter 2 instead of Chapter 3. But I will say one thing amidst that the game did do really well is establish that this shit is going down in other parts of the world and not just Japan, because you had that like fucking G7 UN summit meeting where all the different reps from all the different countries were there, and they were like, hey, maybe we should do this, and they had like a conversation before it devolved into, wait a minute, God's dead, we can do whatever we want. Come here, throne of creation. But I do definitely agree that the characters could have used more work. I don't, I think claiming that the point of SMT isn't the story is kind of head ass. Because for you to pick an alignment, you need to have enough information to pick the alignment. And yet, for 3 out of the 4 chapters in the game, you only have the option of going along with whatever law tells you to do. So that's a thing. Yeah. So far, the review is fine. So far, the review is not bad. There's not much to dunk on, aside from, again, why, what do you mean grinding? There's no grinding in the game. At least the art throughout is exceptional. It's every bit as visually stylish as any other Atlas game, and I love the design of the main character. The demons, both new and familiar to series veterans, look and sound awesome and have some fantastic, unique animations. There are definitely some frame rate issues in certain areas, though, and details like grass that only pop in when you're very close can be distracting. Atlas really tried to push the limits of the Switch hardware, and it's a gamble that pays off in some spots and not in others. On the other hand, the moody music is pretty great too, even if it's never as emotional or memorable as Persona's iconic vocal tracks. I feel like this is a place where some people might dunk on them, but like, I mean, it feels like it's just like, hey, I prefer Persona's vibe over SMT vibes. I don't think it's saying that Persona is altogether better than SMT here. I think it's just personal preference. Because I mean, for my money, SMT soundtracks hit better to me because they're not really trying to evoke any kind of like thematic anything. They're just like, it's there to be music for a video game. And I find that good because it results in a lot of bangers. Again, not to say that Persona music isn't a banger, but I mean, I really don't think that that's a hot take or anything to get upset about. Verdict. With extensive and satisfying party customization, excellent combat and challenging enemies, Shin Megami Tensei 5 never left me feeling bored or burned out across this epic length. Exploration and platforming sections lend some much needed variety when you're fighting so many similar battles in a row. I just couldn't shake the feeling this was Persona without the heart. There's the line again. About the unforgettable companion characters, the potent personal story, the incredible soundtrack, and the jaw-dropping twists and turns. Still, if you're looking for a meaty, demanding, endlessly deep, and overall outstanding JRPG to sink your teeth into, Shin Megami Tensei 5 has heaping portions of it. So, like, that's the thing. You know, with the full context, I think that the verdict is written in a dumb way. Because it's not trying to be Persona. It's trying to be Shin Megami Tensei, the game that it is. But I don't know, a lot of people, like, I think it's fair to dunk on that because that is a take a lot of people have, is like, oh, Shin Megami Tensei 5 should have been Persona, and that's, like, wrong. That's, like, actually just wrong. It shouldn't have been because it's not Persona. So to have that takeaway is kind of a head-ass take. If the game's not for you, the game's not for you. That is what it is. Nothing wrong with that, but like SMT 5 would not have been better if it was Persona, and that's dumb. However, I don't think this review is saying that. I don't get that vibe from it at all. Like, it feels like they're just saying, hey, if you're looking for a Persona type experience where there's a lot of like really well-developed plot and like emotional themes and relatable pee-pee poo-poo and characters you spend a lot of time with, then you won't like it. But if you want a good RPG that doesn't have that, then you will like it. That's how I read this review, which is interesting to me because I was always led to believe that this review was like the worst of the worst. But like, the person clearly liked the game. Like, they had a lot of praise for the game. And I mean, it is IGN, so obviously they blow it up. They're notorious for that. But like, like still, I don't feel like the article is saying that it should have been Persona. I feel like it's just saying that it's not Persona, so if you want it to be Persona, don't play it. And I think that's a fair takeaway. If you like Persona, you may not necessarily like SMT5. And I think phrasing is important here. But like, overall, not that bad of a review. How many of your average audience actually read the review, and how many read the score and blurb? True. That is also true. But I feel like even like isolated to the verdict, you'd have to really like already have your opinion set to say one way or the other, whether it's like saying the game's bad or saying the game's good. Like it strikes a good balance to me. I just think the words they use could have been different, or the idea could have just been shifted slightly. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit. But yeah, I just thought that would be a fun way to end it. A little bit less like serious, because you know, a lot of the other stuff I talked about was treading dangerously close to political waters. So I thought we'd end it with something lighthearted and unrelated as a fun little exercise. But yeah, this was a stream that I did. It actually went on longer than I thought it would. Managed to fill over 2 hours with me just talking and not playing a game. That is impressive for me. I'm impressed with myself. Yeah, that is it. That's the end of the content I have for now. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed. Sorry that YouTube was putting y'all in gay baby jail for a little bit. I don't know what was up with that. Never say that law is your favorite alignment. Fair. Actually fair. But nah, that's it. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. I hope it was fun. Hope you maybe got something out of it. I didn't really have like a point to work towards like I did with the last one. I just thought it would be interesting discussion, but yeah, I'm gonna try to get out of my comfort zone a little bit, do more of these. I enjoy them. Hopefully we can be able to come up with another topic, but I don't actually think I'm gonna do this next week. I think I'm gonna do a cleaning stream instead, because my nest is a biohazard. But I think I will do a fucking cleaning stream next week, because it'll force me to actually do it. But this sort of thing will probably be coming back the week after. I don't know what the topic will be. I haven't come up with one yet, but I do enjoy doing these. I think sometimes I have insightful things to say, or you know, also just practice at coming up with my own content and not relying on a video game. So yeah, with that being said, let me find someone to raid. The motherfucking Tem. Harima Tem from Harima Tem, playing Valorant. Go check them out. They are also a bird. They are orang. They're actually not a bird. They're angel. They have a wing, so they bird. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Go check them out. And I will see y'all tomorrow for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Shit's heating up in that game. Be sure to show up. We're gonna feel emotions. We're gonna sing karaoke. We're gonna fucking I don't know what we're gonna do yet. I haven't beaten the game, which is why I'm still playing it. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Pull up. It'll be a good time. So until then, thank you for watching. Vtuber. Bye bye.